It's another day, and it's another build here in the studio at Micro Center. But today's going to be a little bit different because today we're doing a live stream. And this is a little bit new for us, actually. We did do a live stream in our Tustin location for the PSA event. And that was a grading event where you were able to bring in your Pokemon cards, Magic cards, trading cards, anything like that. And you can send that out to get evaluated, right? Well, that was a fun one, and we figured, let's keep doing live streams and let's see what the live stream experience is like. So today, I'm doing a PC build. And this is gonna be pretty fun because we're gonna go through the entire PC building process in real time. You're gonna watch me troubleshoot if we run into any issues. And I'm thinking, let's get a game running and we'll just go from there. Now, this is a test. That's why we're not really promoting this very heavily. That's why we didn't really let people know ahead of time that we were doing a live stream, because we just wanted to try this out for the first time and really work out any of the technical difficulties that we have. So over here, Adam is actually manning the whole thing on my PC right over here. And we have a multi-camera kind of set up so that we can live stream in real time. So for instance, if you want to show the top view, we have our little top view camera here so we can get all of our motherboard stuff. We also have the motherboard falling out of the box. But we also have another side camera right over there. So for instance, if there's another angle that we want to get from over there, we can capture that. And again, this is a test. We're trying things out. So bear with us if there's any technical difficulties and let us know if things sound weird, if things look weird, or anything like that. But let's get into the build. Now, for the parts for today's build, I'm going to be working with the new AMD Ryzen 7 9850X3D. Really like this chip a lot. We tested this out, and actually we were able to use this CPU in our Lucky 38 PC build, which is right over here. And everything that we tested out, I mean, there's some pretty good performance gains to be had with that, 400 megahertz boost clock that you get with this guy. But I have to say, I'm actually really happy with the way this PC came out, and you can also see our collection of other fun themed PCs that we've done over the last few months. I like to keep them here. They're really good showpieces, right? Now, with the 9850X3D, I'm also going to use this Gigabyte Aero X870E X3D wood motherboard. I went to CES a couple of weeks ago, and we got to see this in person. I really like the way this motherboard looks, so I'm actually really excited to put this to use. I'm also pairing this off with 32 gigabytes of DDR5 memory from Crucial, as well as a Crucial P510. This is a Gen 5 SSD. No DRAM on this SSD, so for gaming, it's still going to be perfectly fine. This is a 1 terabyte size, so it's still going to work perfectly good for our intents today. And the purpose of this build really is just going to be a gaming build with a lot of wood accents, which is why I paired this with this Lian Li Lancool 217. The wood accents on here, I think, are going to match the wood on this motherboard really, really well. Now, I don't know much about carpentry. I don't know much about wood, but I couldn't tell you exactly what kind of wood this material is. But if you look at the color, it's very pale. That's not a walnut, maybe a beech. I'm not really sure, but it does match up pretty decently actually with this case. So I think this is going to look really, really nice. And for our GPU, we have a 5070 Ti. This is the Gigabyte Aero. I really like the look of these cards. I actually have the 5080 version right up there that, again, I really like the look of these. It looks really, really clean. And this all-white build is actually going to look fantastic. Now, we also have a brand new cooler that we're carrying at Micro Center from Trikes. Big fan of their coolers. Actually, if you notice, 2 of the Trikes panoramas are in some of the builds that we've done over here. I really like them a lot for a lot of reasons. One, the screens are actually really high res. It's a really good resolution. It's a really clean image. They're OLED screens. The wraparound looks really, really nice. But the other thing I like about them, the software is really easy to use. And we'll probably install the software for this guy and get that going. I actually have not used this cooler yet, so I'm actually interested to see if there's any differences in the installation process, but I feel like the answer is no. I think it's going to be pretty easy. But this one's pretty cool because you can put little figurines on there and you have these little mirror effects. So that's why they call it the stage, or the stage, if you want to be fancy about it. And then for our power supply, we have this 1000-watt power supply from Lian Li. This one's going to work out pretty well. And all in all, I mean, I'm ready to start building. Hope you guys are ready to start building with me. So I'm gonna start opening some boxes. This is the part of the build that we actually edit out when we do our build videos, because this takes up a lot of time. I mean, look, I'm just carrying boxes around and I've got to start opening everything up. And I figured if we were going to do this in real time, let's give a real approximation of what the process actually looks like. So I have to open up every single box. Now, as far as live streams go, we're thinking about doing live streams more regularly, and we're thinking about doing them in the stores as well. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. When you think about some of the events that Micro Center has done with our store openings, or when you think about some of the reopenings that are coming up, which we'll tell you about a little bit later, we really want to make these a little bit more exciting, and we feel like doing live streams in the store definitely will make it, I think, pretty fun, right? At Micro Center, you have a chance of running into some of your favorite tech influencers and seeing them do a live stream, I think would be really cool. So definitely something we want to do more. There's so many boxes to open here, but I think this build is going to look fantastic. Now, step number one, we're going to get our motherboard all prepped. So I can just start with some of the boxes I just opened here. This is actually very easy, but CPU installation, that is the step that is most intimidating for newer builders. Putting everything I have on this motherboard right over here. Whenever you're doing stuff to your motherboard, always put it on a really nice soft surface like this. When you put any pressure on this, now this has a really nice backplate here, right? So this backplate is actually going to protect all of those contacts on the motherboard. So you don't have to worry about that. But with some motherboards, those contacts are kind of exposed. When you're inserting your memory, there's a lot of pressure that you're putting on that motherboard as you go. So when you take that into consideration, well, it's good to put it on a soft surface. And the best surface really is the box that your motherboard came in. Now I'm going to start with our CPU installation. And if you want to come over here, I'll walk you through the process. Right down here, you have your little lever. There's a lot of tension as you're bringing it up, and then you can lift the cover up right there. And I'll turn this to the side so you get a bit of a better angle. And here we go, opening up our CPU now. All right, if you've never installed a CPU before, well, this is going to be your crash course, but it's actually really easy. AM5 CPU. You can see there's two little notches right over here, and there's this little gold triangle right over there. Pretty easy to match up the notches, pretty easy to match up the triangles. You just take that, line that up, put it right down, and there you go. She's all set. It's not as scary as you think. I've done a lot of this, and I've even had instances of things going awry when I installed the CPU. The best example I can give actually happened like a week and a half ago when we were swapping out CPUs on the Lucky 38 build. I had a 9800X3D in there. I was swapping it to the 9850X3D. I took a paper towel and I was cleaning off the CPU, and I wasn't really paying attention, and there was a small piece of paper towel that got stuck onto here. Well, it ended up on the pins, and it ended up between the CPU and the pins. It booted just fine, didn't bend the pins, nothing really went wrong, but when I was trying to boot, I was getting the yellow light, which means that the memory was not booting properly. So gave it like half an hour, tried to see if it was like a posting issue, if it was a memory training issue, anything like that. Nothing really happened, so then I tried single stick, and it worked in the B2 slot, but not in the A2 slot. And I tried both sticks, swapped around, still wasn't working. Finally, I went, took off the cooler, took out the CPU, found the paper towel, had to take tweezers to remove it. Luckily, nothing was bent, put the CPU back in, and everything worked out just fine. It was covering the pins that were right in the corner, and I'm very lucky that it's just a couple of ground pins, and it seemed like it was one data pin for just one of the DIMMs here. I got lucky. That could have gone really, really bad. But all of that aside, don't fret. It's not that scary. So now I'm going to start installing our memory right over here. All right, so 2 sticks of memory, pretty easy. There's a little diagram right over here, and this is going to be a little bit hard to see, but they always lay it out really easy on the motherboard, and that's something I really like. So A2 and B2, those are going to be the slots that you're going to go with when you have 2 sticks of memory with a motherboard like this. And we're just going to go right in. Cool. All right, all that's left is going to be our 1 terabyte SSD. So this one is pretty easy, and that just pops right off. I really like this motherboard because the accents that they have on here are actually really, really nice. I mean, I think it's supposed to be a leather, maybe seems more like a pleather, but it's got this rose gold accent there. So that paired with all of the wood accents and everything else, I mean, aesthetically, this is a really nice looking motherboard. All right, so this one's gonna be pretty easy. I'm just gonna remove all of this right over here. And take out our M2. All right, there we go. And I'm just gonna line it up. There we go. Put it in kind of a 45-degree angle, and it goes right in. And then right over here, just peel this guy right off. Now this is interesting. I'm going to turn this around so you can see 2 little magnets right over there, right? You could see those right here, and then this little piece right over here. So you can kind of see that. It's grabbing onto it and pulling it into place. Sometimes with these quick release heat sinks, they could be a little tricky to get in the right spot, but this with the magnets, it literally just pulls it like right into place, which is nice because then I could just take it and clicks right down. Look at that, we're good to go. So our motherboard is all set. CPU, memory, and SSD are installed, and we are good to go. So next steps is actually a little bit of case prep, which is what I'm going to work on next. But there's a couple of things I want to do. For instance, I want to get my handy dandy turntable ready, so I've got to drag that guy over here. If you're building a lot of PCs, turntables make your life so much easier. You're going to be spinning things around a lot, and those rubber feet on the case, they can be kind of a pain to work with when you're turning the case a lot. So this is going to make my life way easier. And we've got our case right over here. Okay, so everything just pops right off. Now, tempered glass panels, right? If you're building a PC, you don't want to put this on a tile countertop. You don't want to put this on a tile floor. I've done this plenty of times. In this space, we have a nice carpeted area right over here. So I'm just going to put this down right in the carpet. It's going to be nice and safe, no issues. But you do want to make sure that when you're putting your tempered glass down, you put it down on a nice soft surface. And then this guy, well, this can just go right over there. All right, let's take a look inside. Now, Landcool 217, why did I pick this one? I think the obvious choice was going to be the Fractal North XL. That's actually what I was thinking about for this build. Has the wood accents on the front. You have 2 140 millimeter fans on the front. I don't remember if there's an exhaust fan on the North XL, but I went with the Landcool 217 because the wood accents here, I think they match up a little bit better to the motherboard, but also because more fans. So for instance, you got the 2 fans right over here. Those look like 140. Actually, they look bigger. They might be 180 because then this one back here looks like a 140, and then I have 2 120 millimeters on the bottom. So all of those fans, this was, what, $129.99, I believe? I have to double check the price, but the value was really there. That's why I went with this case. So kind of matched better and it was a better value for sure. Now I'm going to see if I can pull this piece out. There we go. And it has a little GPU stand built in. Let's take a look at the back. So the other thing too I like about some of these cases, there's a pre-installed little fan controller right over here. So everything is already running in there. So it looks like we just have our SATA power. So that's going to power the whole fan controller. And then we have our kind of signal that's going to go out from the motherboard fan header. So that's going to be pretty easy to deal with. Other than that, in terms of cable management, everything is pretty straightforward. We do have this little like pass-through cable right over here. I need to jog my memory because the power supply that we went with, this has the rotating, yeah, there we go. It's the rotating little plug right over here. So I think depending on the orientation that we're going to install this in, we may or may not actually need this little pass-through power. But again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Right now, what I want to do is I want to do a little bit of prep. And Kevin, I think you could fit and kind of hang out with me over here. So if you're building your first PC, one of the things you want to take into account is give yourself time and give yourself space. You're going to need both when you're building a PC, especially for the first time. A lot of people I know, when they're building their first PC, they'll take everything into their bedroom and they'll start doing it on their bed, and it just turns into a big, big mess. And that's not really something that you want, especially when it's your first build. I highly recommend, if you have the ability to, pick a dedicated space that has plenty of space. Kitchen table is always pretty good, because then you could take every single box out, lay them all out, and you can start pulling everything out that you need one by one. Staying prepared and staying organized is really going to go a long way. It's one of those little things that just adds up, because if it's your first time building a PC and it's like midnight and you're scavenging for the right size screws for your power supply, or if you're scavenging for the connector that you may have just dropped somewhere and misplaced, well, it's going to make the whole process take that much longer, and you know, you're not going to have a good time. So I'm just laying out everything. Got all my cooler parts and accessories, got my power supply. The other thing I like to do is I like to take all my power supply cables and just start laying them out on the table. That fan header, we're going to need SATA power, so I'm going to get that ready. Going to need our CPU. Going to need 2 of those, I believe. Our EPS connectors there. We got our 12-volt 2x6, so that one's going to be set for our GPU. PCIe, I don't think we need, so it's really just going to come down to CPU, motherboard, GPU, and that one SATA, and I think we're good to go. And like I said, I just like to keep everything just sort of laid out over here. Now, when we do build content, these are a lot of the things that we sort of edit out from the videos, because the process, you know, it's a little lengthy, right? Do you really want to sit through and watch the whole thing? I guess that's what this live stream is trying to demonstrate, just sort of the actual amount of time that it takes to do this entire process start to finish. And I'm also going to start to open our GPU. Let's take a look at this guy. Oh, whoops. And there she is. She looks pretty good. Snug. Now, this is our 5070 Ti. There we go. And I like the way she looks. She looks really, really nice. So we're going to get that set up and ready. This I can just kind of start to toss under here. And I have most everything laid out for all the steps once I start getting there. The last thing I need to do is just get my parts for the case, which I have right over here. And we'll start getting that prepped and ready. You okay, Kevin? Uh-oh, he bumped into the glass panel, but luckily it's okay. Again, we're doing this live. This is a test. It's our first time doing this kind of content, so let us know what you think down in the chat. Speaking of which, I think I have the chat open. How's it going over there? Okay, Supersonic, 5070 Ti, 5080, or 9070 XT. I don't want to strictly game on a PC when I start building one. Okay, I mean, it really depends on your use case. I do video editing and I do gaming, right? So I go for that 5080 and I have a 13900K still. That combination does me really well for video editing and for gaming. You have your hardware support for video editing. You know, I don't know what other uses you have outside of gaming, and I think that's really going to sort of dictate what you need to do for that decision. 9070 XT is still a really, really good GPU. 5070 Ti is still really good. 5080 in terms of video editing is going to be a little bit better because you have more media engines available. So again, it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for there. Now, what I'm looking for are the screws for my case. I can't find them. I thought they would be in this box right over here, and I don't see them inside the case because sometimes they keep them in the case, but I am not finding them. So do you remember my very long rant talking about being prepared? Well, this is why, because you end up losing a lot of time. Oh, thank you, Kevin. Kevin pointed out that it was all the way back there. I just couldn't see it. Let me get my snips. So all of the parts, they're usually inside by the little carrier for the hard drives, and it was right over here. I literally just didn't see it. Let's see if I can just snip this right out. There we go. Cool. All right, I'm gonna do some prep. We're gonna take a very quick commercial break. And when we come right back, I'm going to install our motherboard.
This credit card sized computer has enough power to stop almost every ad on your network. First, you're going to want to install Raspberry Pi OS on a micro SD card. Put it into your Pi, plug in an Ethernet cable because you definitely want your DNS on Ethernet, then power it on. Once your Pi is on the network, SSH into it, then all we have to do is a single curl command to pull down Pi-hole, which is an incredibly powerful DNS sinkhole system that you can use to block ads on your network. It'll ask you some questions, just make sure to use the block list. Once you go through the setup process, all you have to do is go into your network and change the DNS server to the IP address of this Pi. Now your entire network is nearly ad-free. And if this was a little bit too fast for you, we have a full tutorial on our YouTube channel.
Hey, Austin.
Hello.
Did you have a good grand opening?
Yeah, absolutely.
What'd you make?
So I built a PC to go head-to-head with the PS5 Pro.
That's awesome. But did you happen to get a protection plan?
No.
What about Priority Care Plus?
Yeah. I'll go get that right now. I'll be right back.
Smart man. Smart man.
There we go. All right. So I have our motherboard right over here. I had to take a quick water break because I was getting a little sweaty there. Our motherboard is going to go right in. Now, when you're managing to get your motherboard in and there's a fan already pre-installed, you kind of got to do one of these sort of motions. I think I can lower the desk a little bit, Kev. Yeah, you're welcome. How's that? Better? All right, come on over here. Pretty easy. Just goes right in. I like to hold it sort of by the VRMs and just start to slide it right in. It's snug around that fan right there. There we go. Cool. All right, easy peasy. All right, so now it's just 9 screws, and that's going to be a real easy setup. So Micro Center has a lot of really fun things going on this year. Obviously, we have the new Austin location, which is coming this year. Stay tuned for more information. We'll have more info as we get closer to that date, and we'll let you know when the grand opening and all the activities are going to be happening, but that one's going to be a good time. Phoenix was a really good time. That one was a lot of fun. That was a fun opening over there. A lot of people showed up for that one. I mean, that was just so crazy busy. So we're definitely expecting Austin to be pretty wild. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Okay. Motherboard screws are the most uninteresting part of building a PC. It's just kind of tedious and not that interesting. Also, I'm going to make my life a little bit easier because we have this wonderful motorized standing desk. I can just raise this right up. There we go. A little bit too tall to be hunching down all the way. So if you follow us on social media, if you follow us on YouTube, first and foremost, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. We like to do a lot of PC build content, and this year, you know, one area that I really want to focus on is doing more thematic PC build content. It's just a lot of fun. Truly, it's just a lot of fun. It's kind of nice ideating a theme for a PC build and then trying to execute it. Definitely a learning curve for me, you know, learning some of the things that are involved. You know, 3D printing is something that was very new to me just a couple of years ago, and now I feel pretty confident with 3D printing. I feel a little bit better with 3D printing. I still have a long way to go, but I don't know, taking 3D printing and sort of integrating that into PC builds, it's pretty cool. Okay, I think I have one more in the corner over here. And that should do it for our motherboard screws. So for PC building, the step-by-step process, right? This is the point where I want to use a little bit of foresight and I want to start planning ahead to make the rest of the process a lot easier, right? Motherboard's all set up, motherboard's installed, everything is good there. I'm going to start stashing boxes away so I can start clearing some space. When I talked about taking out your cables and other things before, that's specifically for this part, because this is the part where if you have a modular power supply, you're going to make your life a lot easier, okay? Cables, not connected to the power supply, you just connect them, you know, between the two. Semi-modular power supplies are still perfectly fine. There's good value there, especially if you get a pretty good one at a good price. Totally fine, but I do like modular because it just makes the build process a little bit easier. So I can get all of my cables installed now, and I don't have to worry about trying to fit my hand around the radiator, which is going to go right up here. And that's always the tricky part, because once the radiator comes into play for your AIO, this space, because there's a lot of space up here, right? Like there is a lot of space there, but it's going to get really tight. I got chunky fingers. It's really hard to navigate a cable from here to here and working around a radiator. So that's why I'm going to run these first. I'm going to come around to the front just so you can get a better view of what's going on here. So I'm going to start with our EPS connectors, and it's right up here on the top left of the motherboard. Pretty simple. It's just two 8-pin cables. If you pay attention to your power supply cables, you'll see one's labeled CPU, one's labeled PSU. CPU is what's going to go into the CPU power on your motherboard. So things are pretty easy, you know? So that goes in there, that goes in there. I like these flat ribbon style cables. I think they look nicer because when I take these and I double them around in the case, I just think this is going to look very clean. So I'm pretty happy with the way those look. And that was another reason why I kind of picked this power supply combination, because I knew going into this build, because I think I've used this power supply at least once or twice before, that the power supply cables were going to look pretty good. With a build like this, you want it to be clean. So there we go. And I'm just going to run this right over here. Cool. All right, next up is going to be our motherboard power. I'm going to get that plugged in right here. Just watched the Borderlands build. Oh, thank you. Actually, I want to talk about the Borderlands PC, which we have right over here. So this one was kind of interesting because we were trying to test out different ways to customize cases. This is cut out on a Cricut. This is just like a vinyl sticker that we had cut out and placed. You know, I was trying to find artwork to use for this, and I was able to pull this from their website, and these are just assets that they provided, so I was just able to make the individual characters into stickers. But I don't really like the way they look. I don't think it came out that good. We've been UV printing on glass, which you could see right over here. This effect looks way better. Like, this effect looks 10 times better than the Cricut sort of vinyl cutouts that we did. And the cool thing is, you know, I could put whatever I want onto the glass panels. But for the Borderlands, we also used the Trikes cooler for that. Really like the wraparound. It's still running that same loop that we put on it when we installed it. And this guy came out pretty good. Although his antenna broke off inside the case, you can see I taped it. It's not great, but he's still holding strong. If anything, I feel like it suits the character. Claptrap is kind of a heap of junk anyway, so it sort of makes sense. All right, back to the PC build. We have our motherboard power, have a cable comb pre-installed. Always like to see that, so that's gonna help keep this nice and neat looking. So I'm gonna get this guy right over here. And I'm gonna plug that right in. All right, so I'm gonna tidy this up in a bit. I'm not gonna sweat it right now, but that's about what I'm gonna want for that. I think that looks pretty all right. Okay, GPU I can route a little bit later. I'm not too worried about GPU power right now. Although, yeah, it looks like I'm gonna run it probably from this channel here, and maybe I'll just have it up and around and plug in. And then our SATA power for our fan hub. Let's turn this guy around and let's start taking a look at what's going on in the back. So I'm actually just going to plug this in right now. Let's see, match this up. Nice, easy connect. I'm going to leave this loose just for a little bit. For ease of building, I'm just going to start plugging everything into the motherboard now before I start getting the cooler into place. So we've got our front panel connector. This is a unified front panel connector. Always like to see that, always happy to see that, because that's gonna make my life way easier. We've got USB-C, USB 3, front audio, and then our fan header for our little fan controller right up here. And I'm probably just gonna run this down and up here and just plug that right into the bottom, because there's gonna be a bunch of fan headers down there. Let me double check. Where is, all right, so USB-C right over here, USB 3. That's going to be fun. I'm going to have to run that through here and then plug that into the side. So let's start to deal with this now. And we'll work our way through, undo some of these. I like to get ahead on just some of the cable bits, just because the closer I get towards the end of the build, the lazier I'm going to get when it comes to cable management. So if I start doing the hard part now, the rest of it's just going to feel like a breeze. This is one of those issues that I run into actually quite often on a lot of PC builds. The way that the USB 3 header kind of is here coming out this way, it always seems to sort of interact with some sort of feature that a case will have, and it always makes it kind of tricky to plug in. And I'm always petrified of bending those pins. I think what I'm going to do is I might just try to move this guy out the way, and I'm going to need my screwdriver for that. Oh, parts list for people joining late. I am kind of keeping tabs on the chat, but the chat's over on that wall over there, so I'm not watching it actively. This is a 9850X3D with an X870E wood motherboard from Gigabyte. 5070 Ti also from Gigabyte. I was just moving the GPU support. I'm going to leave it loose there, but I was kind of moving that out the way. Because again, the issue that I'm running into is, you see this guy right here? This is going to be real fun. I mean, I could probably take this whole thing off, but that just seems like so much work just to plug in one cable. I think if I try to shimmy it just right into place without bending the pins. Oh, got it. All right, cool. So, believe it or not, I have bent pins on a USB 3 header before, actually numerous times, trying to do that exact same kind of maneuver. They're actually easy to bend back into place. It's just kind of tedious and time consuming, but it's okay, it works out. All right, so next up, I'm gonna work back here a little bit. I have our USB-C header. I know that that's gonna be underneath our power supply or motherboard cable over here. So if you come around, there we go. All right, what do we got left? Front audio. I'll come around this way just so you can see what's going on. It's a lot of me jumping around. All right, so we've got front audio right over here. So I'm gonna shimmy that out the way. Looks like a little bit of a mess now, but I'll get this cleaned up in no time. Just kind of working my way through. I like that these Velcros are screwed into place. There's so many times where I've undone the built-in Velcros and they just kind of come loose and come falling out. So the fact that like this is bolted in, I like that a lot. You know, when it comes to building your PC, there's a lot of these things that make your life just a little bit easier. You can get a simpler, sort of cheaper case, but some of these features really are built just to make the build process easier. Audio, right over here. Missing pin, match it up, easy peasy. And then our front panel connector, I'm also going to shimmy in right over here. Find the missing pin. Yeah, this is a hard one to videotape, but there we go. Goes right in. Clean up that cable. All right, cable management. What are we looking at? Kind of a mess, but not terrible. So This USB header is going to be interesting. You see the cable right here? This is going to be interesting because if I want to use this GPU rest, which I do, well, I can't move it around this cable. Maybe I can shimmy this and try to shimmy this up. Our 5070 Ti looks to be 3.5 slots. Let's take a look. I haven't unwrapped this just yet, but this looks to be about 3.5 slots. So if we try to test fit it in place, yeah, I guess the position it's at is fine, and then I have some headroom there to go up, so that should be okay. Okay, so next up, I'm going to clean up a little bit. We have basically all the cables we need plugged in, minus the fan header for our fans for the case, and then there's our PC or our CPU cooler and all of those cables, which I can kind of shimmy in at the end. Let's see what's going on up in this channel. These are all kind of shoved up here. So if you're tuning in, if you're watching along with the live stream, first of all, thank you for watching. Again, you know, I've talked about it in the beginning. This is our first sort of live stream. It's our first sort of shot trying out this format on this channel. It's something that we would like to do more of. We're just sort of testing the waters. And it's also something that we'll be doing in stores as well. So we'll be announcing, you know, when those activities are going on. We do a lot of PC build content here, so it just kind of made sense to just try doing a live stream. And then you guys can really see how the sausage is made, because all of this stuff, you know, with our usual PC build videos that we do, you know, they range anywhere from like 20 minutes to like 50 minutes. And we try to not bore you guys with all of the sort of little details of every single little decision. But for a live stream, well, do it live. I'm gonna see if I could fit these maybe back here. Yeah, it's okay, because then these can sort of fit. Actually, this one's behind this one. These can kind of fit together here. Get that in place for our power supply. This is kind of fine. This is kind of fine. I know this one's running all the way over, so I'm gonna kind of just pull this up here. I'm not gonna do a full sort of run for everything. I'm just kind of getting it roughly in place. Here we go. One more clip over here, so that'll pull that. Okay, not bad. I think this one, maybe I'll just run it down this center channel. I think I can just start to run it now. These are not bolted in like the others, so this is what I'm talking about. If you loosen it up, it gets a little loose. Sometimes they could slide out. Oh, went the wrong way. There we go. Very exciting stuff. Just running that whole cable all the way down. Absolutely riveting. But this is the stuff that makes your life easier down the line when you're building. You know, just get it done now, because once I get the cooler on, I'm really just going to rush through this because I just want to get it closed up. I just want to get this done so I can start playing some games. I have a couple of games on a drive that I'm going to get installed once we get this to post. Thinking we could try some out, maybe do a little demo there. How are we looking so far? What do you think? I think she's coming along well, especially if you focus on the, oh, whoops. If you focus on the aesthetics, right? You see the wood on the motherboard over here, wood accents here. I think it's a very cohesive look. And another thing, when it comes to all white PC builds, I've talked about this before, every component is a different tone of white. Some are a cream, some are a bluish white, some are a reddish orangish white, and you'll notice the difference once you have all the parts together. At a glance, this looks like it matches up pretty well. Our crucial memory right over here with the motherboard, with the case, with everything here, it actually looks up to be kind of like a cohesive white theme. So I don't know, I'm pretty happy with the way this is looking. So now these power cables that I have loose here, I'm just gonna kind of shove this into the channel here for a second, because I'm thinking I'm going to start working on the cooler, and then I'll get the power supply, GPU, and we'll go from there. There we go, that just pops right off. So I'll leave this right over here. And while I'm getting some of the stuff set, we're gonna take one quick commercial break, and we're gonna be right back. This is the robotic slider that we use in our studio, and this is how we get a lot of shots that we do for our videos. But the cool thing about this is that all of this is controlled with this one tablet. This is the Samsung Tab A11 Plus, and you can get this at your local Micro Center. What I like about using tablets like this, well, I can control everything in our studio with one device. So I can control our slider, I can control our camera, I can control all of our lights, our teleprompter, and everything else. And having one large device that lives in a studio space that's shared among a lot of different people, well, makes life a lot easier.
You may know Micro Center for our computers and computer parts, but did you know that we have so much more than that, including board games like my personal favorite, Azul, and we've also started carrying some trading cards, including Magic the Gathering, at MSRP. And if you're looking for something a little bit more constructive, we even have a ton of Legos.
Hello, let's take a quick coffee break. I was also checking some of the comments over here. Let's see. The Poets, oh, hello. We are doing well, thank you. Computex, yes, actually we do plan on going to Computex this year. We have some stuff planned for that trip, so that's going to be pretty interesting. More details to come on that. But I did see you at CES, so thanks for reaching out. Video on Micro Center shopping, going to teach himself how to build, has no experience. It's less scary than you think. Building your first PC, it's less scary than you think, but give yourself more time than you think you need. Glass UV printing is very much better. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. 1000%. We're still figuring out our UV printer. We're working out some of the kinks on that one and trying out some of the different things that we can do, but we're getting some really good results with that. 52 location in Texas. We have 2 Texas locations now, the 3rd coming in Austin later this year, so stay tuned on that one. And yeah, I know you want a Micro Center near you. We're working on it. There will be more. I swear there will be a lot more Micro Centers coming soon. All right, so where did I leave off? Over here, PC's coming along well. Pretty happy with this one. Now it's time to get our stage cooler going. And from a glance, this actually seems really easy. I've done their panorama coolers before, and this seems exactly like the panorama coolers, which I'm actually really happy about. And the reason why, their coolers are very easy to work with and install and get hooked up. Some AIOs can be a little complex. There's a lot of cables coming out of both the pump, the radiator, the fans, everything else. And so it gets a little cumbersome trying to navigate all of the different cables that you have to hook up. this is actually pretty streamlined. So it looks like we've got some pins on the fans themselves. I've got one cable coming out of our pump, and good thing we got that SATA cable plugged in, because it looks like we have another SATA power needed for our little stage. This is cool. I know it's a little hard to see because it's off, but you can see that there's the screen portion on the bottom and then the two mirrored areas. It's a very cool little effect. Maybe we'll put something fun on there. I don't know what yet. And it looks like, just like with the panorama, looks like it's just magnetic. It's gonna just plop, yep, right in these 3 holes. Okay, got it. All right, easy peasy. Now, the big question is, which way am I gonna route the tubes? Am I gonna put it this way? Yeah, I think it makes sense to put it this way. It's tricky with these Trix coolers. If you look at the builds we've done over here, actually both builds, and we have received some criticism about this, but it is on purpose. You could see that the tubes are actually routed on the left side. A lot of AIOs, you actually route the tubes. I'm using the radiator to point, but a lot of times the tubes are gonna run kind of like this, but over here I have them on the left, and that's because I'm trying to not cover the screen. Same thing over here, right? Like, if it was running over here, I mean, I could probably undersling it, but then it's gonna get in the way of my claptrap. So just kind of made sense to just shove it onto the left side, but I'm thinking, I guess this is fine. I think I can do it. Whoops, I think I can do it this way. Let's give it a shot. Let me just get all the screws and stuff and get that going. So the next time we do a live stream, I'm gonna have a bigger TV over here so I can interact with the chat a little bit more, because I know you guys are interacting a bit, and I'm trying to stay on top of the chat. I'm also trying to stay on top of this build. It's just a lot going on. And live streaming is just such a different beast than doing content, you know, kind of the old school way. And let me take a look at what we've got here. So we've got our standoffs for AM5. We've got our thermal paste, but I'm 99% sure pre-applied thermal paste, so we're all good on that front. Now, AIOs, while they are mostly identical, every AIO is slightly different. And so it's the kind of thing where that is the one part I'm always sort of referring to the manual. And it doesn't look like there's a manual for this guy. Or at least I didn't have one in my box. But I always like to check the manual for these because there's little quirks for every single one, and I always like to make sure I get it exactly right. Like, for instance, this has this pre-installed bracket over here, but it looks like this is our AM5 bracket right over here. So I think this is what we're gonna wanna be using. So I think I'm gonna have to swap that out. But if I swap that out, I'm not gonna have a cover for my thermal paste. So I think I'm gonna do that after I get the radiator installed at the top. So I just gotta dig through, get all my screws. Cool. That looks like it. Okie dokie. And so a lot of things going on at Micro Center in the upcoming month. March is going to be our monitor madness, so there will be some deals on monitors, so stay tuned for more information on that. We also have some other events coming up that we're gonna have more information on as well, so that's gonna be pretty exciting. We also have a couple of more PC builds that we're planning for the month of March. I'm trying to do, you know, we talked about it briefly before, I'm trying to do more themed PC builds. Kind of doing this the hard way. I'm sort of holding it in place. That'll be fine. I'm trying to do more themed PC builds, and I'm trying to come up with some ideas of some PC builds that would be kind of fun to do. I was thinking about doing one for Resident Evil. I know that the new Resident Evil game came out yesterday, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to do one for that. There's a couple of other games that I had in mind that I was thinking about doing. I had a fun idea for, this is an older game, but Oddworld. If you've ever played Oddworld, I had a fun idea for an Oddworld themed PC that I wanted to do. And randomly last night, I added Lauren Lanning and Sherry McKenna from Oddworld Inhabitants on LinkedIn. It's a really random thing. And they actually responded, which was also really random, because I've been playing those games for like 30 years now. I think the 30th anniversary is going to be next year. And they actually messaged me back. They accepted my, connection request on LinkedIn of all places. The internet's a funny place. Anyway, a couple of throwback games would be kind of fun to do for themed PC builds. But I mean, if you really want to do PlayStation era, there's always Crash Bandicoot. I mean, he's the king of PlayStation. And then, other games coming out this year, that would be fun to do some themed PC builds on. We're also still working on our Fallout New Vegas project. I know that the TV show finished and we wanted to be done in time, but the project is taking a lot longer than we anticipated. But we do have some fun surprises for that project coming up, so do stay tuned on that. We're still working on it. It was just a little bit more ambitious in scope than I had originally thought, so it's just taking a minute. But we do want to do more maker projects like that as well. Definitely some 3D printed cosplay. A couple of other fun things that we're working on with that, so that's going to be pretty exciting. All right, so a bunch of screws already set. Radiator is in place. Now that that's done, here's the fun part where I realize, oh no, I should have done this first before I put the radiator on, because these are the cables for the fans. But I think it should be fine. So what do I have here? LED and fan headers. Okay. Now the fun part is the pins are on the other side. And no matter how many PCs I build, no matter how often I do this, I still trip myself up in the process. Like, I'll still kind of gloss over a quick and easy detail that, oh, this is gonna be fun. Oh wait, no, it goes like this. Oh, you know what? Actually, this is not so bad because I think, wow. Okay, that was actually way better than I thought. Look, magnetic. Okay, that made my life so much easier. I was actually really worried that I was gonna have to take the radiator off and sort of redo that portion. Of course, I'm gonna have to do a little finagling with the cable up in the corner. This is what I've talked about before. It's just tricky to make it fit up here, but I think I can do it. Let's see. Yeah, you can see where I start to run into trouble here. Have you ever filmed at the Cambridge location? No, not yet. It's on our list. So I have personally been to at least 10 Micro Center locations. Let's count them off. There's Columbus, Sharonville, Santa Clara, Phoenix, Miami, Tustin. I've done Queens, Brooklyn, Long Island, not New Jersey yet, but I'll be doing that one pretty soon. Charlotte, that's 10. Am I missing one, Kevin? I feel like that's all of them, right?
Did you say Sharonville?
Sharonville, I said. Miami, I said. So yeah, I've done 10. I know I've done 10. So that's 1/3 of all the Micro Center locations that currently exist. There's still a lot more to visit, and we want to do more videos with a lot of the other locations. We travel a lot. You know, we're all over the place all the time, so it's hard to balance out all the different locations and all the other different fun things. Let's see. Okay, so I've got my cables for the fans set up over here. And one thing I'm wondering, can I just patch this into the fan header that I already have attached? Do I want to do that though? Or should I just run this? No, I should just run this to the header that's on the motherboard over here. That would be smarter. Let's see if I can get this over here. So this is the fun part where I'm just trying to work my way through. There we go. I always wonder if I could do this with a blindfold. Probably not. That would be a very bad idea. I'm going to bend a lot of pins. Kevin is shaking his head no. Yeah, no, I can't do this with a blindfold on. This part I'm doing blindfolded though, because I'm just doing this by feel only. But I could feel, yep, got it through. Okay, so CPU fan. And then LED header, go over there. Yeah, see if you can get an angle. CPU fan. There we go. Cool. Now I can just route this sort of right back up. Or is there anything I need to pass through for this? No, it's just a AIO pump. Okay, I don't think there's anything else. What do I need for the actual screen itself? Just USB and just power? Okay, easy. Actually, that's another thing that I'm really happy about with this build. I'm not sacrificing a ton of USB headers at the bottom. When you do AIOs that have screens and there's other components that have to talk to the motherboard and stuff, you lose those USB headers like so fast. Like you're gonna burn right through them. So the fact that I'm only using one is actually kind of nice. Cool. All right, easy peasy. I'm gonna pull these back a little bit. I'll clean these up in a few. This one's just kind of dangling here, so I'll just sort of feel my way back through. Now I mentioned Monitor Madness is coming up in March, and there's going to be some really good deals on monitors throughout the month, so definitely stay tuned. Check out microcenter.com, and we'll have some fun videos on that. We also have member days coming up, so that's going to be, oh, my finger's stuck. It's going to be March 3rd through March 9th, so also stay tuned for more fun info on that one. I almost have it through. Almost. There we go. All right. That's fun. All right. I'll clean this up in just a minute. I want to just keep working on the rest of this. So now I'm at a good point where I can swap out the bracket on this guy, because this bracket I'm pretty sure is for Intel. I want the AM5 bracket, so I want to swap that out, but I can't really swap it out until it's all installed. There we go. First things first, I'm going to remove pre-installed hardware right over here. There we go. All right, got that off pretty easy. Now, one tip, oh, it's still like one thread. There we go. One tip that I have for you, always save this pre-installed hardware. Always save this in the motherboard box. You never know if you're ever gonna need it for anything. RMAs, things of that nature, or if you just wanna give your friend a motherboard and maybe he needs the pre-installed hardware. So just always hang on to that. Before I swap that out, yeah, this is pretty easy. So it looks like it's just a couple of standoffs. And got a couple of screws right over here. Now, the fun part is that I don't think I have the manual for this guy. So I'm gonna have to do some Google foo really quick, because I know with standoffs like this, look, you have one edge that has this little marker here. And I see it says AM5 up here. I don't know if you guys can see that. What does this one say? AM4. Okay, maybe I don't need to get the manual. AM5. But does the AM5 stand up or does it go down? Interesting. All right, well, we'll be back in just 1 minute. I'm gonna go check the manual. I'm gonna get some more information over that. I'll respond to some of the questions in chat right after this commercial break. Let's build the ultimate Fallout New Vegas themed PC to look exactly like the penthouse of the Lucky 38. First, stop by your local Micro Center and grab a new 9850X3D and the rest of your parts. Next, we're going to take a Thermalright Tower 300 and we're going to convert it into the Lucky 38. Since this concrete casino tower has been in the wastelands for, well, over 200 years, we'll need to add some texture to the case. First, strip off all the panels and cover the parts that you don't want to paint with painter's tape. Next, use a desert sand texture spray and spray on your case. Make sure you use a respirator. I used a 3D printer to make some accessories to really make this look like the penthouse of the Lucky 38. Spray all of the panels and the parts with the texture spray. Now that the case is done, we'll start building our PC. I paired off the 9850X3D with an ROG Strix B850i ITX motherboard, 32GB of memory, and a 1TB SSD. I got some cable extensions to match the black and red theme of the Lucky 38, which you can also get from your local Micro Center. For a cooler, I have the Lian Li Galahad 2 LCD, and the LCD and the AIO will be perfect for Mr. House. With the PC build done, now it's time to take our PowerColor RX 9070 XT Hellhound and customize it. Remove the backplate and use a high-quality UV printer to print a Lucky 38 billboard on the GPU. This backplate came out amazing. Reapply thermal paste and reassemble the GPU. With the GPU installed, all that's left is finishing the details on our Lucky 38 PC. I added a 3D printed Securitron to watch over Mr. House. I also inserted some magnets to the 3D printer parts to make this case really look like the Lucky 38. I also 3D printed a Lucky 38 logo, and I added a platinum chip to the power button. Even the courier is impressed with the Lucky 38 PC. If you want to do custom projects like this, well, stop by your local Micro Center to get everything that you need from PC parts to 3D printers, and you can create the PC of your dreams.
I absolutely adore an understated natural aesthetic. I've got the Fractal North at home as well as a wood-paneled keyboard, but now we're going to start getting into internals. With Gigabyte's brand new motherboard, this absolutely gorgeous faux wood-paneled motherboard is stunning and something I'm incredibly excited to build with. And if you're curious to see what this can do, check this out.
Right now, 7200. So feel free to.
Hello. All right, I found the manual. It was in the box. I'm just double checking. Okay, so it was the grooved side goes up for AM5. That really makes a difference, actually. There's a couple of other coolers that have a similar design where depending on the orientation of the standoff little piece there, it actually makes a huge difference. So you want the groove side up, and then we have our little guys going in here. So I'll just screw these into place. Let me see. Someone was asking, how much did the memory cost on this build? That's actually a very good question. I'm going to look that up. $379 for 32 gigabytes. $379. Now, that was because I didn't go with one of the bundles. With the bundles that we have at Micro Center, there's much better pricing on memory. And you definitely should take advantage of that. For this build specifically, this is really more of an aesthetic build, and I really wanted this to have the cohesive motherboard, you know, RAM, everything, just to be this cohesive kind of color scheme. So that's why we went outside of the bundles. But with bundle pricing, you know, for instance, with the 9850X3D, you get 32 gigabytes of memory, and what do we have that at now? $699? Does that sound right, Adam? Yeah. Which is a really good price. But for this one, you know, again, we kind of went off menu, so that's why it's going to be a little bit So yes, with the bundles, it basically is a discounted cost. And if you check the PC configurator that we have on microcenter.com, you can select one of the bundles and it'll give you a cost breakdown of what you're saving per item. So CPU, motherboard, and memory. It'll actually break down what that discounted price is in the bundle. And we have a lot of bundles to choose from, both for AMD and Intel. So there's a lot going on there. Okay, so I've got this guy. If I remember correctly, this is just like a twist. There we go. Easy peasy. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna rest this right here and try to not get the thermal paste on anything. I just need to check. My little baggies to see if there's a thumb screw that I need for this guy. Let's see what we got going on. Okay. Intel AMD thumb screw. All right, so it doesn't matter which platform you're on. Looks like thumb screws are going to be the same. That's common. I just always like to be sure. Double check everything. There we go. Okay, so let me get my little screwdriver. And we're going to get this guy right on here. All right, so that lines up pretty easy. I actually like that this has a little flat piece here, and the actual aesthetic part of the pump, you know, the screen is just a magnetic add-on, because then that means that the actual installation process is way easier. Like, sometimes having to work around the screen can be a little tricky. Now, I like to get the screws on a couple of threads, right? There's no pressure there really. Just a couple of threads, just so I know that they're in place and they're good to go. And there we go. The other thing, before I go any further, I just want to double check. Do I have it on the right way? There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna have to finagle the tube a little bit around this guy. That's fine. Oh, that magnet's very strong. There we go. Okay. So if I get the tubes running straight out, easy, good fit. Okay. Just wanted to double check before I went any further. I didn't want to tighten it down and waste the thermal paste. So starting from where I started to put the screws in, star pattern, alternating pressure, always important to sort of just make sure that you don't over tighten. There's a lot of thread there. I don't even think I'm putting pressure on just yet. Now it's starting to go. So little turn, little turn, little turn. RGB looks better on black cases than white. I actually kind of agree. It does show more, especially because most gamers are going to be in a dark room anyway. But white cases, they have that clean sort of look to them, right? Can't beat it. It really depends on your style, right? All right, and one last little, there we go. Easy peasy, look at that. So now we have our pump header. This one's gonna be pretty easy. I'm just gonna route this down, around, up. I know maybe you can't see it that well, but there's a pump header right over here. Then I'm going to sort of route this cable through this whole little area. Just kind of tuck it down. And I think that's okay for now. I don't love it, but I think that the stage screen is going to cover it quite a bit. Speaking of which, move our tubes over a little bit. Get the cable over here. This one's just going to fit right into place. There we go. That's it. Okay, so we're actually getting pretty close to the end here. I just have power for the AIO, USB header, both really, really, really easy to deal with. So I can just route these right there. And I'm going to pick this guy up. I'm going to do another one of these. Kind of feel my way through. Like I can kind of see in the channel over here. So another thing that we do with our content, that I think a lot of people don't take advantage of, feel free to reach out if you have an idea for a build or a combination that you kind of want to see. We're always happy to hear feedback on sort of different ideas for PC builds. So if you have them, just let us know in the comments. We're always reading them. See if I can get it. There we go. This is always the fun part. Wait, one more. There we go. And we just get our power cable. But if you have an idea for a combination that you want to see or some sort of build, let us know. We're all ears. We're always building a lot of PCs anyway, so it's always kind of nice to hear feedback. There's a couple of videos that we're working on now that'll be coming up pretty soon. Some of it's about AI. We sell a lot of AI hardware at Micro Center, a lot of high-end stuff there. So if you're in the market for that, definitely plenty to go around. We have another fun video that Jacob and I are doing where we switched to Macs for a whole month. So for the month of January for CES, we actually switched we both got MacBook Pros to use. And we have a video just sort of talking about our experience using them for video editing. At CES, we were literally sitting on the floor, on the carpet outside of different booths. Kevin's nodding because he was there, just editing like on the fly with our MacBook Pros. So I think that'll be a fun little video. There we go, got it through. All right, let me clean up the rest of this. There it is. All right. Now we are making some headway. So, SATA power, I left kind of loose over here. I have so many to choose from. Just going to plug right in. And then USB. This one's going to run. If you want to come take a look right over here, I've got 2 ports right over there. Cool, there we go. That is most everything in terms of cable management minus the GPU cable, or at least everything's plugged in. I wouldn't say that the cables are fully managed. Next up is going to be our power supply, and we're going to get that going. Got our power supply screws right over here. Now this Land Lee power supply has a movable little socket here for the power. That's actually kind of cool. So the question is, which orientation are we going to go for? Now I know that we want the fan pointed down. Let's see. What's RTFM? What does it say here? Secure side plate before mounting. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, we could do that. What do you want me to do? It looks like it's already secure. Oh, I see. We got this guy over here. All right, well, let me get this back plate off first, and then we'll work our way up. And I'm kind of thinking, oh, I see. Okay, so if we go in like this, Kevin's doing some gymnastics to try to fit over here so you can get a shot. Nothing, I'm trying to see which way to put the power supply over here. Again, we do these videos, we kind of cut out some of the parts of me just sort of thinking out loud what I want to do, but the benefit of a live stream, you get to see me think live. So it looks like, let me get motherboard out the way, CPU out the way, SATA power out of the way. So we have this little pass-through power, and LAN Cool 217 definitely seems like it is meant for this kind of power supply. And my assumption is we could plug in all the cables and sort of just route power in through here. Is that going to fit? If I try to test fit this, oh, we got another little guy over here. Give me just 1 second. Hey Adam, how long have we been streaming?
Hour 25.
Hour 25. So this has been about an hour and 20 minutes of me building so far, huh? Interesting. All right, not bad. Definitely not my fastest, but not my slowest. All right, test fit, let's go. This guy's kind of in the way. Oh, she's a little chunky, huh? See if I can fit it in. I'm gonna have to take out one of these hard drive caddies. I think this is just gonna have to fully come out the way. Also, we don't really need it for this build. Oh, whoops. Let's see. First, unscrew the bottom. Yep, that's what I did. Oh, there we go. There it is. There's a little hinge here. So that pops out just like that. So I could save these for later because there's no hard drives in this build. Let's see what we got going on in here. So this is kind of in the way. This is kind of in the way. Let's test it. Oh. Well, she fits, clearly. All right, yep, there it is. Okay, so if I put it like this, I can get everything plugged in. I can put my motherboard right over here. I could put my power right over here. Got it. This is a funky little fit though. I see, okay. But at the same time, I could just turn this and just have this pop out. There we go. So next week, we're doing another PC build. We're gonna have Alex back in the studio next week. I wonder if, should we live stream that one, do you think? Maybe, that could be kind of fun. We have another build that we're doing with a 7500 X3D bundle, so definitely seems like maybe that'll be a quick and easy one that we could do a live stream of. I'm kind of thinking I wanna bypass this whole cable stuff and just go straight in and just have it out here like that. I don't know, it just feels like a kind of hat on a hat, just having everything routed through and then routed through again. Before I actually hook this up though, I'm gonna pop this out, I'm gonna start getting some cables plugged in, and then I'll shimmy it right back in. There we go. Now, our first kind of test into this sort of live stream space, we did like a demo build at the Phoenix grand opening. So on the grand opening day, we had Mr. Yeaster, who was a really cool guy. We had Austin Evans. They were doing a build together, and then Mr. Yeaster was doing another build sort of challenge with a bunch of people. And we were doing it all in this sort of studio space that we set up at the Knowledge Bar. And that was fun. That was actually, a pretty good time. And so after that, I did a PC build. I actually got to hang out with a bunch of you guys there, and we were just chatting, just sort of, building PC. We did a giveaway of that PC on the day. So that was a good time. So we're definitely going to do that for the Austin grand opening when that happens. But in the meantime, I think this is a way to sort of keep that format going. All right, we have everything plugged in. Let's get GPU plugged in first. But we want to keep the format going, keep it somewhat interactive, right? We'll see what else you guys think. All right, there we go. 12 volt 2x6, which I'm going to plug in right over here. Great. Okie dokie. All right. I'm going to work on this for a second. We're going to take one quick commercial break so I can get a sip of water, and we will be right back. Hey, Austin.
Hello.
Did you have a good grand opening?
Yeah, absolutely.
What'd you make?
So I built a PC to go head-to-head with the PS5 Pro.
That's awesome. But did you happen to get a protection plan?
No.
What about Priority Care Plus?
Yeah. I'll go get that right now. I'll be right back.
Smart man. Smart man.
This is the robotic slider that we use in our studio, and this is how we get a lot of shots that we do for our videos. But the cool thing about this is that all of this is controlled with this one tablet. This is the Samsung Tab A11 Plus, and you can get this at your local Micro Center. What I like about using tablets like this, well, I can control everything in our studio with one device. So I can control our slider, I can control our camera, I can control all of our lights, our teleprompter, and everything else. And having one large device that lives in a studio space that's shared among a lot of different people, well, makes life a lot easier.
This credit card size computer has enough power to stop almost every ad on your network. First, you're going to want to install Raspberry Pi OS on a micro SD card. Put it into your Pi, plug in an Ethernet cable because you definitely want your DNS on Ethernet, then power it on. Once your Pi is on the network, SSH into it, then all we have to do is a single curl command to pull down Pi-hole, which is an incredibly powerful DNS sinkhole system that you can use to block ads on your network. It'll ask you some questions, just make sure to use the block list. Once you go through the setup process, all you have to do is go into your network and change the DNS server to the IP address of this Pi. Now your entire network is nearly ad-free. And if this was a little bit too fast for you, we have a full tutorial on our YouTube channel.
You may know Micro Center for our computers and computer parts, but did you know that we have so much more than that, including board games like my personal favorite, Azul, and we've also started carrying some trading cards, including Magic the Gathering, at MSRP. And if you're looking for something a little bit more constructive, we even have a ton of Legos.
Hello. I wanted to spare you some of the boring parts, like me trying to figure out how to route the cables on this one, but I think I finally got it narrowed down. I also needed to grab some water. So I got the power supply in. I am using the sort of power cable that's routed through the case itself. Now I'm doing some finagling on my cable management here in the back because I had some wires that were sort of crossed that I just wanted to neaten up a little bit. I'm not going to bolt anything down yet with a zip tie because I just want to get this to the post screen. So I'm just going to work on this guy right over here. There we go. And then, yep, motherboard can go right over here. Uh-oh, I think I popped it off. I'll fix that in a minute. Because I have this attached to the plate. I think that's the way it's supposed to go on, but I might have to fix that in a minute. Either way, let's see what we got going on up front. Everything is kind of set. And trying to plan ahead. Here's our power cable for our GPU. There we go. Now that's all kind of good. Nice. So we did a video that came out last week, right? And we talked about trying to get a PC under $1,000. And that's kind of a challenge these days. You know, budget builds, it's getting tricky, right? We're doing our best to, you know, give you guys the best pricing that we can on memory, SSDs, and everything else. And again, bundles are really the best opportunity for you to save big when it comes to memory. And there's a lot of good bundles going on right now. Again, 9850 X3D bundle, fantastic. We also have that 7500 X3D bundle for $349 right now. That's a crazy good deal. Like, that's a crazy, crazy good deal. And that's still a good CPU for gaming, so don't sleep on that CPU at all. I'm gonna start taking some of the plastic off of our GPU now. And I'm gonna fix our loose power supply in just 1 minute. I just wanna start getting some of this other stuff prepped so we can get this guy to post. Doesn't look like there's little stickers, are there? No, it doesn't seem like it. All right, cool. I like the way that looks. Again, 5070 Ti, that's what we paired off with our 9850 X3D, in case you tuned in a little bit late. 1 terabyte SSD, 32 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, so this is gonna be a pretty sweet combo, if you ask me. Now, let me just fix my power supply because I think I was trying to sort of use this cover, but it's not really working right. So I think I'm just gonna have it exposed and then sort of just use the little turny part over here. There we go. Pop this guy out. Makes sense, because I don't really want to clog up the airflow through this guy either. I mean, I have the fan in the proper orientation, but it just doesn't feel right to have something blocked up. And we'll get that going. And I'm just fixing this up. Charlie Cat, where is Michael Center? Well, Michael Center is with us all. Micro Center has 30 locations located across the USA. But Michael Center, well, who knows? All right, so Kevin, why don't you take a step back? Take a look over here and check it out. She's coming along. I am pretty happy with this. Not gonna go crazy with the cable management back here just yet. I'm gonna kind of leave it a little loosey-goosey. I lied, I don't wanna do that. I wanna fix this one little loose cable here because it's already running down the center, so I might as well have it somewhat organized, but I'm gonna leave these for now because I wanna get to a post screen. And I said it earlier in the build, I try to front load some of the work because once I get to this point in the build, I really start getting antsy and I really start getting lazy, which is what I'm doing right now. I just want to get this guy to start gaming. We have, yeah, it's 3. Okay, so I'm going to take out 3 of these guys. We're going to get our GPU installed and we're just going to kind of fly right through this. There we go. Pop these out. Save those for a rainy day. And see, is there a plastic on the back here? Yes, there is. I'm going to remove that too. Problem is, it's hard to see the plastic. Actually looks good. Can't even tell. 5070 Ti. So, Gigabyte Aero. Really like the look of this guy. It's gonna be pretty easy to install. Uh-oh. Just kidding. All right, let's get this guy installed and let's get this build going. All right, let me scoot forward a little bit and I'll lower the table just so you can get a better look at what's going on. Micro Center in Las Vegas. That would be fun. Again, stay tuned. Micro Center is always looking to expand, and we'll have news as it happens. So, all right, just getting my screws ready. But she is inserted in the PCIe. Now, we're using a Gen 5 SSD. No issues with this board in terms of bifurcation. You have more than enough lanes to support Gen 5 SSD, Gen 5 GPU. Everything is looking good. On this X870E wood motherboard, the bottom 2 PCIe slots, one is a Gen 4 by 8 and the other is a Gen 4 by 4, I believe. I am recounting this from memory, so do correct me if I'm wrong. You know, they'll be good if you're gonna do any little add-on cards, maybe if you want a capture card or anything, but other than that, you definitely wanna make sure you keep your GPU in the top slot. And 12 volt 2x6 colored connector right over here. So the idea is you wanna make sure it's fully inserted. You don't wanna see any color popping out from around any of the corners here. So I'm gonna make sure I get this guy going in. Easy fit. Built-in cable comb right over here. Keep the cables looking neat. I'll pull it down here a bit. And then next step, I'm gonna pull the cable back. But I think she's looking pretty good. All right, let me shimmy this back. Take a look from the front. See if I can shimmy this around this fan down here, because I know for a fact once this powers on, this is going to be knocking into that fan. Kind of just fit it right over there. I'm pretty cool with that. Cool. All right. I think we are ready for a post test. Let's see if I did anything wrong. This is always the fun part. Now, memory is fully inserted. Everything's good there. CPU, pretty sure I did that right. I've run into a plethora of just random post issues, you know, over the years. I think this has got to be at least the 70. How many builds have I done? 70? 59. Definitely feels like I've done more. Oh, I guess that's the official counter, because the unofficial counter is definitely higher. All right, I'm gonna plug this in right down here. The most common post error I get, though, is not having a stick of memory fully inserted. Sometimes when I'm kind of looking down at the memory and pushing it in, I can't tell from the very high angle of me being so tall that one of the corners isn't fully inserted and it didn't click in place. And that's just me not being careful. Let's see. What do we got? Anything? Nothing? Let me double check the back, make sure we're, oh, I see. Oh my goodness. This is actually pretty funny. I'm going to turn this around so you can get a better shot of this. I did something so silly. And you, Kevin, you're going to have to get real low to see what the issue is. Do you see that? I physically cannot turn the button. All right, it's a quick fix. I'm just going to take this out and let me see if I can do one more. There we go. Okay. I think I just put too much pressure when I put it in because that's fully inserted. There we go. See if I can fix up this cable here. All right, and I'll just give her a minute and we'll just see what's going on. All right, one thing I forgot. I like to use this portable monitor when I'm booting up for the first time. So, let's see if we get a signal. I'll let that sit there for just a minute. I'm going to do some prep work with keyboard and mouse. All right, what have we got going on? 0, 0. That's not good. I'll double check the CPU if I really need to, but I don't think it'll be an issue. I am going to reboot her real fast, and we'll go from there. Hang on. Make sure we're all plugged in. Cool. Aesthetically, I think she's looking pretty good, though. Let's give it a sec. All right. While that's running, I'm going to do a little cleanup over here. Move some of these out the way. Hey, there we go. All right, looking good. All right, so the Gigabyte X870E wood, this is an X3D motherboard, so it has X3D turbo mode. I'm going to enable it. Yeah, why not? Yeah, we're all good. We are looking fine. Give everything a minute and get set up. Next thing I'm going to do, I have this little thumb drive. Now this has an image that we use for Windows, just for sort of getting things set up and going. We do so many PC builds here that this is actually the easiest way to get Windows installed. And I'll show you in just a minute, once I sort of get things cleaned up and set up, just how easy it is. First of all, check the BIOS, everything's looking good, everything's there, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. So what I've got right over here, I've got our little key. I'm just gonna plug it in kind of anywhere. F10, right? Yes, no, oh, yes. It's hard to see because it's like a portable monitor. The reason why I like using a portable monitor for posting like this, I just don't feel like lugging the PC around. And so this is a lot easier. Just bring this over, plugs in power USB, HDMI to the GPU, and you're pretty much good to go. Let's give this a minute. Yep. Let this read from the USB. So I like doing it this way, at least for a lot of our builds, because we try to build and get these set up and imaged and installed with a bunch of games all in one day. And it can be very time consuming if you do it like the old school way. If you use like a USB, like the official Windows USB key, because you have to do it like the manual way to install. Let's see, give it a second to load. I see that it's reading from the USB key. And this is the part of the videos, you know, when we do the long form videos, we kind of gloss over this stuff because it's a little bit time consuming, but you can see I'm already in our image. And this is great. Our lab kind of cooked this up. This is what our PowerSpec lab uses for testing. Yep, SSD's there. Everything's correct. Any key. Let me double check. Oh, did I select the wrong thing? Hold on. Anyway, our PowerSpec lab, they set up a lot of PCs, so this is really meant to just save time, and so we just borrowed this image and we use this for all of our PC builds. If you watch a lot of our PC build content, you'll notice that some of our PC builds, it'll say activate Windows in the corner. That's because, well, this isn't an activated version of Windows. It's just a test environment that we have that we just use because we build so many PCs. Now, one secret that you may not know, a lot of the PCs that we build here in the studio, we actually end up selling at Micro Center. I actually return these to the store and we'll sell this as a complete unit. And so odds are, if you've bought a PC from Micro Center, because it'll be on display, you might have bought one of the PCs that I built. There we go. All right, yeah, I hit the wrong button when I was selecting the disk. That happens sometimes. Applying the image, it's literally going to install Windows in about 60 seconds. So I'm gonna be up and running with everything I need. So what I can do is I can start cleaning up my mess a little bit here. I'm gonna get this closed up. I'm gonna get my drive because I wanna show you how I get the PC set up with a bunch of games and how I get things kind of running pretty quickly right after this commercial break. Let's build the ultimate Fallout New Vegas themed PC to look exactly like the penthouse of the Lucky 38. First, stop by your local Micro Center and grab a new 9850X3D and the rest of your parts. Next, we're going to take a Thermalright Tower 300 and we're going to convert it into the Lucky 38. Since this concrete casino tower has been in the wastelands for, well, over 200 years, we'll need to add some texture to the case. First, strip off all the panels and cover the parts that you don't want to paint with painter's tape. Next, use a desert sand texture spray and spray on your case. Make sure you use a respirator. I used a 3D printer to make some accessories to really make this look like the penthouse of the Lucky 38. Spray all of the panels and the parts with the texture spray. Now that the case is done, we'll start building our PC. I paired off the 9850X3D with an ROG Strix B850i ITX motherboard, 32 gigabytes of memory, and a 1 terabyte SSD. I got some cable extensions to match the black and red theme of the Lucky 38, which you can also get from your local Micro Center. For a cooler, I have the Lian Li Galahad 2 LCD, and the LCD and the AIO will be perfect for Mr. House. With the PC build done, now it's time to take our PowerColor RX 9070 XT Hellhound and customize it. Remove the backplate and use a high-quality UV printer to print a Lucky 38 billboard on the GPU. This backplate came out amazing. Reapply thermal paste and reassemble the GPU. With the GPU installed, All that's left is finishing the details on our Lucky 38 PC. I added a 3D printed Securitron to watch over Mr. House. I also inserted some magnets to the 3D printer parts to make this case really look like the Lucky 38. I also 3D printed a Lucky 38 logo, and I added a platinum chip to the power button. Even the courier is impressed with the Lucky 38 PC. If you want to do custom projects like this, well, stop by your local Micro Center to get everything that you need from PC parts to 3D printers, and you can create the PC of your dreams. Hey, Austin.
Hello.
Did you have a good grand opening?
Yeah, absolutely.
What'd you make?
So I built a PC to go head to head with the PS5 Pro.
That's awesome. But did you happen to get a protection plan?
No.
What about Priority Care Plus?
Yeah. I'll go get that right now. I'll be right back.
Smart man. Smart man.
Hello. Still installing Windows. Oh wait, we're done. Look at that. It was that fast. Okay, so let me just take a look over here. I got this all closed up. I was doing a little bit of house cleaning and getting myself some water. But we are all set up. That's it. Windows is installed. I'm just going to restart. And I'm just going to rip this guy out. And this is just one of our Micro Center thumb drives. I know they're not the fastest in the world, but for something like this, they're perfectly fine. So having an image of Windows is really, really, really handy. It just makes the setup process so much faster. So now I'm just gonna let this kind of run. One thing about this motherboard, the network drivers should already be pre-installed. So put that to the test. You have dual 5 gigabit Ethernet on the back, which I really like. 2.5 seems to be the new gigabit, and now I'm seeing 5 appearing in more and more motherboards, and I'm really happy to see it. More throughput, please. Some motherboards, I'm not going to name names, some motherboards, you do have to install network drivers, even for like wired networking, just to get it to read the internet, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. So I've always gotten in the habit of having all the drivers I need installed on an external device ahead of time when I'm building a PC. So if you purchase a motherboard, I highly recommend going to the website, downloading all of the relevant drivers, keeping it on a thumb drive just in case you need it, because it's one of those things where, again, if it's your first time building a PC, you just spent the whole night building, you finally got it together, you turned it on, you installed Windows the long way, and now you need to connect it to the internet. Well, guess what? Now it's not going to connect, and your long night just got even longer. I'll let this run, but Windows should pop up in just a second. I'm going to do some more cleanup in a little bit, move some things around. I have a monitor over here, and we do have to get some drivers installed for our 5080. And I'm just realizing One thing that I didn't do, I didn't get the bracket locked down to support. A little bit of GPU sag there. So bracket, I need to adjust that, need to fix that. I'm not loving the GPU cable down there. It looks like spaghetti at the bottom underneath the fan there. But I will do, I'll take this off. Oh, there we go. Okay, so, is there glare? Can you see that? All right, super secure. In order to access, I have to change the password. Password's gonna be nothing, just hit enter. All of our PCs that we build are hyper secure. I'm just kidding. We reformat these when we sell them to the stores or when we put them back in the stores to sell to you guys. So we put, what is it, Windows Pro? Windows 11 Pro? Yeah. So we bundle that in that. It's just, we don't use official Windows just to save a couple bucks while we're putting this all together. Still needs to take a minute to sort of get configured, but once that's kind of set up, I might just reboot this so I can start moving some stuff around, and I'm going to set this up because I have a really good monitor over here that I want to get. Yeah, it's still running. But let me take a look at our stage cooler because that looks pretty rad. So it looks like this is the mirror, this is the mirror, that's the actual screen itself. And you can see the sort of effect that it gives. Now, the stage, it's really meant to be a stage for whatever you want to put on there. I have my handy dandy 3D printed Mothman. He's always watching. I think he's too big. Oh, yeah, he covers the whole thing. That's okay. If there's one thing we have a lot of here, it's random miniatures and figurines. So over here at our Lucky 38 PC, Sean actually went and painted and did a very wonderful job on some of these Fallout miniatures. I'm a big fan of the Enclave power armor, so I think that's what I'm going to put in there. I just like the look of it. What's this, T45? I like that too, but I don't know. This one's looking pretty sick, so Enclave guy, I think that's what I'm going to put in there. Nice. And I am officially in Windows. So this is the part where I have to install a bunch of stuff. But networking's working. First thing I do literally is I start to install Steam, just so I can start transferring games over. And I'm going to show you how I move all of my games around. Again, we build so many PCs. You don't want to, oh, she's restarting, or whatever. You don't want to have to re-download a game every single time. These games are huge, 28, 30, 50, 100, 150 gigabytes. Especially if you're on a metered network, that's going to cause a lot of issues. So you can make backups on Steam, and you can back up all of your games onto an external drive, internal drive, wherever you want, and you can extract those backups whenever you want on whatever device you want, as long as it's in your library. So that's actually pretty handy because I have a whole bunch of games backed up on this drive, and it literally just extracts it right into the thing. Takes like 60 seconds. And we're talking about like Black Myth Wukong, pretty chunky game. It's going to install in about a minute, and you'll see that once I get all of this set up. Let's see. Got everything going here. Oh, one thing I noticed, where's my RGB? Oh, you know what? The fan controller. I plugged in the fan header. I didn't plug in the LED header, so that's why my RGB's missing. Okay, well, that'll be one of the first things I do. Okay, Norton, no. The rest of this, why not? That's fine. Just let it run. All right, well, that gets going. I'm going to start moving some stuff around and get this all kind of set up. Hey, Jack, do you want to give me a hand real quick? We're gonna do something fun. All right, I'm gonna pick up this PC, and then you can take this turntable, and you can just pull it right out. There we go. And we'll just do it while she's running. All right. So I'm just installing updates. This is the boring part of the build. You know, the build's done. All the fun stuff is done. I am going to diagnose our fan header because I want, yep, it looks like I forgot to do the LED header. It's buried in the back over here somewhere. Let's see if I can find it. Where is she? Or is there no RGB on these fans? Is that it? Why did I think there was RGB on these fans? Maybe there is no RGB. Huh, okay. Yeah, actually I don't see an RGB header here. Yeah, I guess not. Must have been mistaken because I see all of the different fan plugs kind of plugged in here, but I see no RGB for any of the other fans. Why did I think that these had RGB? Interesting. Well, it's still a clean look for the PC build, so I'm still pretty happy with that. I'll get this back on. While this is going, let me see if I can get Steam installed and everything else. Let's see. Cut the total price in half without the fancy aesthetics. You're absolutely right. Yes, you can save dramatically if you do not focus on aesthetics. 1000%. My personal build, it is an old 13900K bundle that we had forever ago that I bought when I first started working here. And just parts that were on sale. Aesthetically, my personal PC, it's kind of a mess. If you're really on a budget, right? If you're really just trying to save and you're trying to keep it limited, yeah, aesthetics, I think that kind of goes out the window. And there's a lot of good options that we have at the store in the $69 to $89 range, at least when it comes to cases, where they have pre-installed fans and everything's kind of set. And that's actually a pretty good dollar range for a case with pre-installed fans, and it still looks pretty okay. Pair that off with a budget air cooler, depending on what you're using. Like if it's a 7500 X3D bundle, that's $349. Throw in an air cooler, like a 212, that's another 20 bucks. And then, you know, a $69 case with pre-installed fans. I mean, dude, you're cooking, you know, and you still have some budget left over for pretty decent GPU if you really want. So yes, if you throw aesthetics out the window, you can absolutely save big. On the other end of the spectrum, if you really want to go all out and make a statement piece, we also have that available as well. So it really depends on, you know, who you are and what you want, right? I mean, that's the P in PC, it's the personal part. So that's what it really comes down to. Still installing a couple of other things. Let's see what other comments we have coming up while we're waiting for everything to install. PowerSpec G758 yeah, that is a good PC. Fortnite, I would play Fortnite, but I don't have that pre-installed on my drive, so I'm not gonna get that going. I don't wanna wait for it to download, so that's gonna take a minute. Yes, you can transfer your games over on your local network as well. That's a totally valid way of transferring your library from one machine to another. Really depends on your network speed, really depends on, you know, how everything's working there. But I prefer using the SSD method because with the SSD, you can really utilize the speed. It's way quicker than doing it over network, and I've done that a lot. Doom Dark Ages, okay. Doom Dark Ages, yes. I have that on my SSD as well, just waiting for everything to get started. So that might be the first game I'll spin up, because I like that game a lot. And then Kevin's just doing a quick battery change on his camera over there. Let me check on the installation of everything. Oh, there we go. All right, I'm gonna jump over here real quick. Waiting. Nice. All right. Well, he gets that going. I'm gonna grab our drive. I'm gonna get you some of this. Andy is more well-versed when it comes to Raspberry Pi. He's definitely our resident Raspberry Pi expert, so he'd be the one to do some of that. Depends on his availability. We have Andy doing a lot of content for Arduinos and other stuff, so that's definitely his wheelhouse. That would be pretty cool, I think, for a live stream, getting that going. I have Steam installed right now, so I'm gonna start transferring over some games while some of the other drivers are installing. There we go. Is it working? Okay, cool. We did a battery swap on the main camera, so we weren't sure if that was actually going to work. Okay, so I want to show you, I have Steam set up. Other drivers are installing in the background. Samsung T7, pretty fast, SSD. I'm going to plug this in. Actually, I'm going to swap things around. We're going to lose the monitor signal for a second because I plugged this into the USB 4 port. Actually, there's two USB 4. I actually didn't have to do that, but I'm going to plug this into USB 4. So that should give us a pretty good speed. T7 Shield. There we go. Okay. So when you're transferring games over with a drive like this, literally all you do, top left over here, click Steam. Okay. Restore game backup. And you literally just find your backup. So I have all of these games here. So I'll do Doom Dark Ages. So we talked about that one. Accept, yada, 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 yada. And now it's just going to restore from the backup. So again, it's like a compressed file that Steam generates. It just takes the game from your library and places it into the SSD or the location that you're compressing it to, and then it just unpacks it. And there we go. Oh, a bunch of other stuff popping up. Yeah, it's kind of fun installing like 20 different things simultaneously. And there she goes. Now it's flying. So you can see literally this is the fastest way to install a game because it says 83 gigabytes. I mean, look at that. We're flying through. And while we're getting some of that set up, I did pick a keyboard mouse for this. We had a couple of extras. So I have this Keychron Q15 Max. Thought this would be kind of fun, sort of match the white aesthetic. And then I grabbed this Glorious mouse because this was an extra one that I had over here. So I figured we could use that and pair it off. For our monitor, we have an Alienware OLED monitor that I have sitting right down over here. So I'm going to bring that over and get it set up. I think once we get this game installed and we get some of the drivers installed, I'm going to install the Trikes software for the cooler. And I'll show you that really quick. And then I think let's just play some Doom Dark Ages. Kind of get it running, yeah? What are we at? 36 gigs of 83.5. So again, this is pretty fast. Usually the fastest I'll get over a network, at least when I do a network transfer, is like almost full gigabit speeds. And that ends up being 900 and some odd megabytes per second, but this definitely seems like it's a lot faster. So that's why I like doing this method for transferring some of the different games. While that's installing, I'm going to get our Keychron keyboard kind of set up. Now, this space, this is always a mess. We're always building PCs, so it always ends up turning into a mess. But I'll clean all that up later. Let's take a look at this guy. Okay, ortholinear, which is interesting. It's not my keyboard of choice, but I figured this one would be kind of a fun one to throw in the mix. Look at that. Put it up. Put it near my mic so you can kind of hear ASMR. Got the dual knobs. Interesting. All right. Feels like linear switches, right? Make sure switch pins. Yeah, these are pretty linear. These feel pretty nice. All right, I'm into it. Get the cable out for this guy. Yeah, Keychron's cool because they give you the keycaps if you want to use Windows or Mac. I think this is, yeah, this is the Mac default, but that's fine. I'll just leave it as is. I can tell the difference. Got some tools and stuff that we don't need right now. Oh, look at that. Game's already done. Now, let's take a look here. Oh, that's funny. So now it's transferring from our other PC. So when I did the backup onto the SSD, that backup is the launch version of Doom Dark Ages. So that's going to be different than what is the current version that Steam will have available. So that means it restored that version onto the drive, and now it's transferring the newest version, which I actually have on the network on this PC over here, and it's transferring that data over. So you can kind of see both in action. What are we getting in terms of speed here? Oof, not great. That's pretty slow. Yeah, but our switch that we have in the studio that needs to be updated pretty soon. All right, so this will be our board of choice. This will be our mouse of choice right over here. I'll remove the stickers off the skate in a minute. It's not a white mouse. I wanted to do a white mouse, but I was kind of in a hurry, so I just grabbed this one. But I think it works. All right, so while we're updating the game and we're waiting for that to get going, let's get the Trike software installed. Oh, you know why it's so slow? Because I'm downloading all of these other drivers simultaneously. So that's slowing us down a little bit. That's okay. And we're going to need NVIDIA driver. I think the next time we do one of these live streams, I'm going to have an SSD that's cloned and just kind of already preset with everything, just to make things a little bit faster. I mean, I wanted to demonstrate sort of the process that we do when we're setting up one of our PC builds, because we build so many PCs. And let's see. Get our NVIDIA drivers, Trikes. I'm gonna wait for this to download too. Here we go, support. All right, I'm gonna let some of these download for a minute. We'll take a quick break We'll be right back. This is the robotic slider that we use in our studio, and this is how we get a lot of shots that we do for our videos. But the cool thing about this is that all of this is controlled with this one tablet. This is the Samsung Tab A11 Plus, and you can get this at your local Micro Center. What I like about using tablets like this, well, I can control everything in our studio with one device. So I can control our slider, I can control our camera, I can control all of our lights, our teleprompter, and everything else. And having one large device that lives in a studio space that's shared among a lot of different people, well, makes life a lot easier.
This credit card sized computer has enough power to stop almost every ad on your network. First, you're going to want to install Raspberry Pi OS on a micro SD card. Put it into your Pi, plug in an Ethernet cable because you definitely want your DNS on Ethernet, then power it on. Once your Pi is on the network, SSH into it. Then all we have to do is a single curl command to pull down Pi-hole, which is an incredibly powerful DNS sinkhole system that you can use to block ads on your network. It'll ask you some questions, just make sure to use the block list. Once you go through the setup process, all you have to do is go into your network and change the DNS server to the IP address of this Pi. Now your entire network is nearly ad-free. And if this was a little bit too fast for you, we have a full tutorial on our YouTube channel.
Let's build the ultimate Fallout New Vegas themed PC to look exactly like the penthouse of the Lucky 38. First, stop by your local Micro Center and grab a new 9850X3D and the rest of your parts. Next, we're going to take a Thermalright Tower 300 and we're going to convert it into the Lucky 38. Since this concrete casino tower has been in the wastelands for, well, over 200 years, we'll need to add some texture to the case. First, strip off all the panels and cover the parts that you don't want to paint with painter's tape. Next, use a desert sand texture spray and spray on your case. Make sure you use a respirator. I used a 3D printer to make some accessories to really make this look like the penthouse of the Lucky 38. Spray all of the panels and the parts with the texture spray. Now that the case is done, we'll start building our PC. I paired off the 9850X3D with an ROG Strix B850i ITX motherboard, 32GB of memory, and a 1TB SSD. I got some cable extensions to match the black and red theme of the Lucky 38, which you can also get from your local Micro Center. For a cooler, I have the Lian Li Galahad 2 LCD, and the LCD and the AIO will be perfect for Mr. House. With the PC build done, now it's time to take our PowerColor RX 9070 XT Hellhound and customize it. Remove the backplate and use a high-quality UV printer to print a Lucky 38 billboard on the GPU. This backplate came out amazing. Reapply thermal paste and reassemble the GPU. With the GPU installed, all that's left is finishing the details on our Lucky 38 PC. I added a 3D printed Securitron to watch over Mr. House. I also inserted some magnets to the 3D printer parts to make this case really look like the Lucky 38. I also 3D printed a Lucky 38 logo, and I added a platinum chip to the power button. Even the courier is impressed with the Lucky 38 PC. If you want to do custom projects like this, well, stop by your local Micro Center to get everything that you need from PC parts to 3D printers, and you can create the PC of your dreams.
You may know Micro Center for our computers and computer parts, but did you know that we have so much more than that, including board games like my personal favorite, Azul, and we've also started carrying some trading cards, including Magic the Gathering, at MSRP. And if you're looking for something a little bit more constructive, we even have a ton of Legos.
Hey, Austin.
Hello.
Did you have a good grand opening?
Yeah, absolutely.
What'd you make?
So I built a PC to go head to head with the PS5 Pro.
That's awesome. But did you happen to get a protection plan?
No.
What about Priority Care Plus?
Yeah. I'll go get that right now. I'll be right back.
Smart man. Smart man.
Hello. So I was getting drivers installed, getting some things set up, had to do a couple of reboots. Honestly, it's all the boring stuff. Our network is like super saturated right now, and it's kind of weird because, you know, I'm in one of the 5 gigabit ports, but I'm only getting, I mean, look at this transfer speed right here. This is abysmal. So I'm trying to make sure that the drivers are up to date for the networking, because maybe it's using a not so good driver. Also, let me like pause all of these downloads I have going on, because it seems like it's going to take forever. Also, I think Windows is also slamming it. Yep, because Windows is also doing like 20 million updates simultaneously. This is the fun part. I think the next time we do one of these live streams, I'm just going to make sure that I have everything preset. So I'll just clone a drive and just use it that way. We were kind of doing this the long way today, even though we took a couple of shortcuts, but not nearly as short as it could have been. One thing I do want to do before we go, let me see if I can get this set up. Nice. There we go, English. Installing the software for our stage cooler. So I want to see if I can get this set up really quick. I mean, again, one of the things that I talked about and why Trike's coolers have been kind of one of my favorites lately is just the ease of use. Everything is just really simple. As you saw, connecting the cable to the fans on the radiator was actually very simple. A lot of different companies have different solutions for that, but this is by far the easiest one I've encountered just because it's magnetic, clicks right into place, all of the pins line up, everything's working. That was actually super simple. Software-wise, their software's pretty good. It's lightweight. It's not running in the background all crazy. Installation's pretty straightforward. Let me see if she's running. Yeah, no. Yep. Allow all the things. All right, what are we downloading here? There we go. Let's wait for this to connect to our guy over here. Let's see how Doom is doing. I paused it. We're at 87%. Let's see, is it reading our cooler? It was registering it for a second there, but then it like popped away. I wonder if it's like downloading any further drivers or something. See if I could relaunch it. Nothing. Dashboard seems to be working, but I'm not registering our cooler. That's weird because it was just showing. Check the cable down over here. See if the USB got a little bit loose. No, we're looking pretty okay. Powered up. It was running before. I'm really wondering if our network is just letting us down because we're kind of on a throttled network here in the studio. We're in the process of upgrading it, so I shouldn't run into these issues in the future, but for now, it's just a little bit on the slow side. I don't know why that wasn't popping up. Well, what I'm thinking is, why don't we do a follow-up stream where we can demo some of the performance of this build? I think, as far as test streams go, I would call this successful. How long have we been live?
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Wow, this has been a long one. This is definitely something we want to pursue more, and I think you should definitely tune in and let us know what you think, and let us know what you would like to see us do on our next live stream. I'm going to do a follow-up video on this, and we'll break down some of the performance that you can get with this combination, but I know for a fact this 5070 Ti paired with this 9850X3D, I mean, you're going to get really good performance there across all games, especially 32 gigabytes of memory, so looking pretty rock solid. Make sure you stop by your local Micro Center if you want to pick up a PC that's going to look as good as this, or any PC that fits your budget. And if you don't have a Micro Center near you, well, be sure to comment, hashtag, I want a Micro Center near me.